Renault, if you're watching this, I promise you I am looking after this van. I know it doesn't look like it, but I actually am. I've got my 8 treads here, right? And of course I haven't got a roof rack on this van because it's just a hire van that Renault have given me. So the only way I can fit them in is I put the 8 treads in and all the other shit goes on top. But of course, every time I need to get them out, you have to do this dancing act. And you find stuff you didn't realise you had. Tripod, I was looking for that. I keep telling myself that one day all of this effort will pay off, but I won't lie, sometimes it does feel like a bit of a uphill battle. Stuffing glands, I needed those yesterday. Man, this van needs a serious clean. Right, now I'll just put it all back in. Hashtag love life. Right, this intercom wasn't working and it transpires somebody had just switched off the fuse spur downstairs. I'm keeping an eye out on my van in case some pikey nicks my ladders, which is not uncommon around these parts. I'll come back and some thieving bastard would have nicked my camera. I think I'm going to chuck these out here for a minute. Right, most important thing is I have to put my little yellow signs out. So if there is a zombie apocalypse and lots of people die while I'm working here, I can say it's not my fault, there was a sign out. Right, we have one panel and we have, what have we got? We have a zone fault. Okay, looks like fun. I've got a feeling it's upstairs on the top floor and there was a load of building work going on up in the penthouse. And I think what's happened is they've either damaged a cable on the smoke alarm on the flat below, or somebody's removed the detector head in one of the flats up there. Yeah, in fact, because it says end of line missing, so it could just be that someone's taken the smoke detector head out, which is odd because you're not supposed to be able to without the use of that tool. But it is, I mean, you can actually do it without that, but you should be able to. But maybe someone's just wrenched it off the ceiling in a fit of rage because the building work here was going on for months. So give me 5 minutes, let me get set up and I'll check back in a second. This is the other thing, is that half of the tenants aren't bloody in today, and they were supposed to be. Because when you've got like blocks like this, where you've got multiple flats, you've got to try and get all the tenants to arrange, you know, a time that they're all going to be in. And of course, people say they're going to be in, and they're not in. This is the classic example. This tenant was supposed to be in between 9 and 12. Well, it's now 10 o'clock and there's nobody in. So it's like, I mean, I can go maybe into one of the other flats and do the testing in those flats, but then I'll come back here maybe 11 o'clock, I'll give them another go. But if not, if I can't get access, it just means that you've got to end up booking this back in for another day because I can't leave this alarm system without testing the smoke head. I've got to test this smoke head. So it's, yeah, annoying, but if you're coming into this industry, you will find this, and you just have to, you know, some people get really angry about it, like, you know, you said you were going to be in and you're not, but there's no point. You just have to accept that that's how it is, and you just book it in for another day, and you just have to be I think you just have to be very placid about it, you know, because otherwise you'll burn yourself out in no time. Like, I mean, worst case, all it means is that you book a revisit, in which case you bill for it, because obviously if you've taken the time to come here and spend 20-30 quid in parking, then you've got to book a revisit. It's only fair that someone has to pay for that, so that's what I do anyway. I still haven't managed to get into the flat which has got this zone fault. I'm going to try and go up there now and see what I can rustle up. Now in here, this is on the ground floor, and there's a cupboard in here, but there's a smoke detector I've got to get to inside this cupboard. Annoyingly, there's a combination padlock. Now this is a classic example of if you've got if you've got something like this to do, where you've got to test multiple places, get into multiple properties, there's invariably cupboards you've got to get access to. Now there's half a dozen different agents here, and trying to ring around, trying to get the combination for this lock is going to be a nightmare. So I shall pick it instead, because I've watched The Lockpicking Lawyer. I've never done this before, but apparently you just turn these little thumb wheels until they click, until they stop moving, put a bit of pressure on the lock, and then when they all stop individually, you should just be able to open the lock, in theory. That's the thing about YouTube, you know. There's loads of people who are like, you shouldn't be doing this, you're promoting private electrical work, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm not being funny. I watch the lock-picking lawyer, but you don't see me going out, you know, breaking into houses because I know how to pick a lock now. It's just common sense, you know. I saw a plumber on YouTube the other day. It was a step-by-step guide how to change a boiler, but you don't see me changing a boiler in my house. You know, there's a certain element of common sense which, you know, and that unfortunately is the day and age we live in. Common sense is just, it's not very common. The lock-picking lawyer, you saved me about an hour's work in phone calls. Thank you, mate. All right, that is the first floor, the second floor, and the top floor and the basement alarms all checked and working. I can't get into the third floor because they're out and they said they'd be in. So I'm on fire exit sticker duty now. These stickers in places like this are the biggest waste of time. It's just health and safety, just taking all humanity and common sense away from perfectly self-explanatory situation, you know. Yeah, I could understand if these, you know, if they're in a pub or a cinema or somewhere where there's multiple exits where you'd be forgiven for not knowing your way out first time because you knew. But here, I mean, I'm sorry, this is just utterly ridiculous. But the powers that be have said that we've got to fit them, so be it. I don't have the ones with, you can buy these with the adhesive back, and I fitted a load. I bought them from the wholesaler, fitted a load of them, came back in 3 months' time, they were all on the floor. So I take the non-sticky ones now and just put a thin layer of adhesive on the back of them myself, and that seems to work better. You know, I'm not being funny. Like if there was a fire in one of those flats, the owner here is not going to take any time or patience to be looking at these signs because they're going to be down these stairs like bloody Linford Christie. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you need them here. I really don't, but hey ho. The emergency lighting here as well, I think all needs changing because it was fitted about 4 years ago. And when you switch on the emergency lights, they last about 30 seconds and then they go off. So I'm gonna have to quote them to put new emergency lighting in. But that won't be happening today. And by the looks of it, I'm not gonna be able to get into flat 4 either because there's no one in. Move that detector head. What I want is a little portable compressor or something. So you can just blow these out to give them a clean. You can actually buy those little cans of compressed air, but I finished mine, I used it up. All right, so let me check the dip switches on these and see if, although no one should have tampered with them, it does happen. These ones, for anyone's wondering, these are the Twin Flex Pro, the Ficky Twin Flex Pro, and you've got these little dip switches in the back. And you can set them up to do more or less whatever you want. If you want it to be a heat detector or a smoke detector, you can have a combined heat and smoke. You can change this, because these have got sounders built in, which is one of the reasons I quite like them. And you can program it by altering these dip switches. In fact, I don't know how well you can make that out, but that's the in fact, I don't know how well you can make it out, but that's the chart, and you just literally toggle it to what you want it to do. So it's quite cool, but normally when I'm just doing, I mean, I actually came here just to do there was a fault on the 3rd floor flat, but I'm actually, while I'm here, I'm just going to go through, remove each of them, just check them, just give it a quick once over while I'm here, seeing as I'm booked in for the day. Okay, that is correct. No one's touched it since I was last here. And you need those, I've done it before, you come out to do servicing and testing and stuff, and if you forget that tool, you're buggered because you can't remove the smoke detector heads without that tool. Okay, I'm coming. It should switch off actually on its own. Yeah. Zones in audible test zone 7. Okay. I will take you out of test mode. I am actually buying as a company. I'm buying a you can buy the no climb kits with the testing poles, and you can test smoke, you can test heat. I mean, I'm still doing it the old fashioned way with the Sabre. But yeah, I'm buying one of those, but it's like 1,500 quid, and I've sort of been putting it off. I mean, these here are all smoke, there's no heat in here at all. I think those are old alarm cables or something, telephone or something, I don't know, who knows. Anyway, I have got to put a little notice on the front of here saying no flammable liquids to be stored in here, because it's just like a little cleaner's cupboard. So I do need to do that, but I haven't got one on me, but I'll do it next time I'm here. That's actually the reason why there's a foam extinguisher there, because although technically they shouldn't store flammable liquids in there, I mean, it's basically a rented property, so it may happen. So that was the reason, for anybody who's wondering why there's water on every floor except here where there's foam, that was the reason why. Walking up all these stairs is a killer. It came up in conversation on a video a little while back about the volume of the sounders, because you've got low and high on these. I personally prefer to have, sorry, so many stairs. I personally prefer to have lots of sounders, but have all of them on a low setting, because my personal opinion on that is that if there is a fire and it's in the middle of the night and you're waking people up, if you've got like a dozen sounders in this building and they're all on high, it's a really disorientating sort of feeling, you know, being woken up out of slumber, and it's just like, you know, like 90 decibels, you know, it's just disorientating. So I think if you have more sounders but less of them, you'll still achieve 75 decibels at the bed head, but it's just not so disorientating, I think, anyway. There we go, off she goes. That should go off in a second. Excellent, done. I do that bit to get rid of the excess smoke out the smoke chamber, because you'll go back downstairs and it will go off again in 2 minutes, so I suck it all out, or you can blow it all out if you had a little can of compressed air or something. Some people were asking, like, the training course that I did for fire alarms. It wasn't too bad. If you're an electrician already, you can take the upgrade courses and stuff. And they're like, I think my training course for fire alarms was a week. And then I did and then I went on to do the fire extinguisher course. That was another week. That was quite an intensive course, actually, the fire extinguisher one. But it was quite cool, though. It was worth doing. But yeah, the fire alarms, about a week course, somewhere around there. Properly interesting, though. I'd recommend if you're thinking of getting into it, go and sit one of the fire alarm courses, because they're proper interesting. I know it sounds silly, but when you go on those fire alarm courses, you learn all of the bits you wouldn't really ordinarily think about. That was where I learned about have more sounders but make them all quieter, because traditionally people would think that if you fit a sounder loud as possible, alert everybody, but it doesn't always work like that, because that will just disorientate people. And it's not about, in a fire scenario, it's not about disorientating people, it's about getting people out. So it's sort of, some of the parts of the courses are really interesting because it contradicts what you would ordinarily think, but they're well worth doing. I would recommend anybody to go and do them. I took a refresher course a year ago, last January, which was quite interesting. That was just a day course down in Gatwick. That was quite interesting. Right, I'm going to hoover up because I can't do anything else here today, because I've got one flat left and they're not in. So I'm going to have to come back for another day. So I'm going to go and hoover up. Okay, I've just had a quick thought. I've got to hoover up, and I'm intrigued to see. We know that hoovering is insanely boring as a job, so I'm curious to see how interesting I can make it look on video. Let's go.